So we did a cleanup in Kensington, and they thought it was gonna be a walk in the park. Like people pulled up, just pulled up. Like, all right, we ready. Leaving the car running. I'm like, don't leave your car running, cuz. What you doing? Turn your car off. And then they came. They like, all right, so I'm ready. I'm like, you got gloves? No, we ain't got no. Give them gloves. You got water? No, give them water. And then they walking around, and then actually one of the people in the park had to get Narcan. And they walked up to me and like, what's going on? I'm like, just keep cleaning. Don't worry about it. The ambulance is there. Like, it's going to take some time. And then walked up to me like, this is so eye-opening. I never saw nothing like that. I live in Doylestown. Never saw nothing like this. And I'm like, yeah, yo, like when you come volunteer, you're going to be hands-on. You're going to see a lot of stuff that you never saw in your life.
What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
Welcome back to Limelight Highlight, where we highlight individuals tackling everyday problems you thought couldn't be solved. As always, I am your host, Jonathan Rosario, and please forgive me in advance in case I sound a little hoarse. I attended my first NFL game with my father this past weekend, played the Chargers. The Eagles lost, of course, but all good. I did a lot of yelling, so forgive me if I do sound a little hoarse. But back to the show. And what you just heard is a clip from today's show. And today I am actually joined by Juan Adames Jr. And Juan is the co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Leaders of Tomorrow, or aka the LOT Crew, as he likes to refer to them as. They started this group to create a platform for youth in Philadelphia to not only see a different perspective on life, but to also voice their opinions and make their community a better place. I mean, it's no secret that the next generation will determine what happens in the next 20 years, and with the LOT Crew's influence, they can make the outcome a positive one. Now, Leaders of Tomorrow is an organization of what Juan likes to call near-peer mentors. I love that term, near-peer. But near-peer mentors who help the community and educate youth in Philadelphia. And they call themselves near-peer mentors due to the fact that the organization is made up of people younger than 20 years old. The whole organization. So kids literally being the future and just, you know, near-peer. I can't get over that near-peer mentor thing. But anyway, Juan noticed that the increase in violence throughout Philadelphia has mostly targeted the youth, so he and his team decided to start a group that not only gives a new perspective on life to the younger community in Philly, but also provides them with continuous guidance while still living in the poorest of the largest cities in America. Now, this week's relatable fact is that males and youth aged 15 to 19 have the highest suicide counts in Philadelphia. I know that's not a happy fact, it's not a fun fact, it's a scary and very sad fact. But the good news is that the work that Juan and his organization are putting in to combat this constant state of trauma brought on by violence that many of these kids are constantly experiencing in Philadelphia is already proving to work by giving the youth a sense of belonging and opening their eyes to the possibilities of becoming something bigger than themselves, becoming a part of something that they can take and make a career out of. You know, they don't have to be stuck in that state of trauma. You can hear it all on today's episode. But before we dive any deeper into that, I just want to give you guys a quick update and reminder that we have a website. It's currently up. It's live. I will be proactively updating it as I see fit. But when you get a chance, go check it out at limelighthehighlight.com. You can see all the latest exclusives and listen to the past podcast episodes to get caught up to where we're at today. Other than that, the Block Gives Back is doing some big stuff on Giving Tuesday. I was actually there to hand some merch to help out and also volunteer to help out with their Feed the Block. But Kevin Hart was actually down North Philly, invited 3 of the members of the Block Gives Back for some interviews. We got some pictures, and the Block Gives Back is just doing some really big things in Philly right now. This is not a podcast about them today, but I just want to give you guys an update because I know they are my closest partners. But back to the show. Now that the announcements are out of the way, let's get on with the show and help me welcome Juan of the Leaders of Tomorrow crew. All right, Juan, appreciate you coming on.
For sure.
You represent the LOT crew, which is Leaders of Tomorrow.
Yes.
I got in contact with you from your cousin Chi-Chi. She hit me up and was like, I think he'd be a good fit. And I looked up some of the stuff you guys are doing. I obviously see the page.
Yeah, definitely.
Turned out to look really good and aligns with everything this podcast does. I don't know if you've listened to any episodes, but the format's changed to where we highlight a problem,
right,
and the people coming up with solutions for that problem.
I love that.
And you obviously are doing a lot to help some of these problems. So before we get deeper into that, tell some of the listeners who you are, what you do, and how you got into this.
So I'm Juan Adames. I'm actually a sophomore right now in college at Salisbury University. I'm studying nursing. I started LOT Crew back in 2015, I want to say. I was a junior in high school, and I came up with the idea. I pitched it to a couple of my friends. They wasn't feeling it. They thought it was too far-fetched, being as though we was about 16 years old.
I was going to say that age.
Yeah, like 16, 15. They thought it was too far-fetched, but I kept pushing. I made a little logo. It's actually a logo we have now. We kind of redid it, added something at the bottom of it, and then I started from there. I pitched it to one of my good friends. Her name was Wilsie Alvarez, and we took off from there. We added new people. People come and go, but for sure, it's going.
And what inspired you to do something like this, especially at that age when that's the last thing most of our peer group at that age wants to actually do?
Yeah, so motivation definitely came from my parents. My parents always helped my friends that was less fortunate. We weren't always fortunate, but when we had it, they made sure that our other friends had it. And then there's a group in around the Summerdale area called Purpose Basketball, and a couple of the mentors there, Ed, Coach Reese, Coach Darius, they really embedded that nature in me. Not gonna lie, they made sure every single kid that they came across was okay and mentored. And after I saw that, I was like, I could start my own thing. And when I told them about that, they pitched it to me like, do it, we'll back you. And I'm like, all right. And we started, and it kept going.
And how old is the nonprofit? I know you said you started getting the group together in
about 4 years.
4 years now?
4 years, yeah.
Well, paperwork all done.
Yeah.
And stuff. You got grant writers and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, nice. It's going good. But everybody's in the group is younger than 19. There's nobody,
wow. So it's just a young group.
Nobody in the group older than 19. So.
That's big because especially at that age, that's, people want to be in the streets.
Yeah.
They want to do everything but.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got kids that, are in the streets, and we try to help them out. And I think we're doing a pretty good job as we go along. Obviously, you lose a couple, but they come around full circle. Like, man, you was right. Yeah, we know. We won't be saying it for nothing. So
some people got to find their own journey until they
definitely
that light switch goes off. So speaking of kids in the streets, what are some of the problems that you guys are facing and you're trying to tackle as far as solutions go?
The influence of social media, and especially as kids in high school and middle school, everything they see on social media gets glorified to them, and they love it. And a couple of the kids, they just love the new rap game, and the rap game is really pushing them to do certain things. And it's like you try your hardest to tell them right from wrong, and they already know right from wrong, but they like what their friends do. But I mean, honestly, what we do, I think we're doing a pretty good job. We help them with mentorship, writing job applications, public speaking, and stuff like that. That's stuff that they don't get in school, and that's what we're really trying to push hard on them. And I think we're coming out pretty solid. We turned some grades around from all Fs to all As, and that's just the goal. But that's in the classroom now. We got to figure out solutions outside the classroom where they aren't on the streets 24/7 and stuff like that. So it's going. It's definitely going. But social media is a big problem.
Yeah, I like that you say social media because when I started out with this podcast, try to push positivity, you know what I mean? But the things that get clicked on are World Star, people fighting, So it's an uphill battle. So when you have people, especially in a group who's nobody's older than 21, or younger, and it's just, that's the stuff that, you want to make that the wave. You want to make that thing be the cool thing.
Definitely.
So what do you, what's the process of getting an event together? Or how do you guys, brainstorm on what you want to do first?
Definitely. So once we have an idea, so like our last event, which I think was a pretty good event, it was a basketball tournament. But it was just a curve gun violence. It was with the Philadelphia Police and Citywide Community Counseling Services. right there on Kensington and Allegheny.
That's a heavy spot to have.
Yeah, they really like they help us out a lot. So we partnered with them, and the main goal was to just get kids off the streets, and we didn't think it would get as big as it did, because when we planned it, we were like, okay, 4 teams, 2 games, last game of championship, we're just gonna give them some gift cards. But we posted it, and about 100 kids tried to sign up, and we're like, okay,
you need more teams.
Yeah, we need way more teams, and then we branched it off to way more teams, and that's kind of the goal that we want. We want as many kids as possible. We'll never turn down any kids, but the process going through it is like as many people as we can get, and then we need like a solution-based event, because every event could be a good event, but if there's no solution to it, it's like
it's like having a block party.
Exactly.
It's like no real purpose but to have fun.
Yeah, so
purpose behind it.
Exactly. So the purpose behind it was to get kids off the streets and actually interacting with the police that serve them every day. So when we had the event, there was police from I think every district in Philadelphia, but mainly from the Northeast district, and they came and they played, and most of the kids didn't know that cops were playing with them until after the game, and the cops introduced themselves and like,
it was all shit talking.
Yeah, the cops was talking crazy. Like it was funny, but they was like, oh, and then they exchanged information, and it's like now you see the community coming together, like cops exchanging cards, information with kids that they see every day, but they never talk to them until now. So, and then you had the state representative Jared Sullivan really getting involved in the community, handing out water ice, sitting down, talking with residents, and at that moment we were like, okay, that was the solution. Like we found a good solution. It was a pretty good event, yeah.
So you started off by, hey, we're gonna have 4, something small, something tiny, and now you got police from the Northeast coming down to K&A, one of the most drug-ridden places in Philly.
It was crazy.
So how was that conversation, getting in touch with the police, and how was that breaking the ice when the kids found out, because there's the relations between, and that's the biggest problem.
Yes. I think when we pitched it to the police, they hopped on it and they were like, definitely. We pitched it to the community relations officer. Her name is Chief Inspector Love Craighead, and she ran with it. She was like, I love it. We could do it. Like, let's do it now. And she wanted to do it like 2 weeks before. I'm like, no, we need more time. Like, we need more
100
time.
kids.
Exactly.
A lot of numbers.
We need more time. And then she was like, okay, perfect. Like, let's get more time, as much as we need to do. And then at one point, the city actually tried to be like, you can't do it because it's too big. And they were like, you have a permit for only an hour. You can only use an hour. We're like, we need more than an hour. Like, you can't do this in just an hour. So what the police did, they were like, I have these police officers who could play. They have to leave, but we're going to leave 4 patrol cars here for y'all, just so that y'all are safe. And we're like, that's love. Like, that's really love. They wanted to leave the DJ for the whole time, but the park and rec were like, you can't leave the DJ the whole time. So it was like, okay. And that's when we were like, oh, the cops is really trying to do their job. Like, they're going above and beyond. But the cops loved it. I mean, the cops really loved it. And the one thing I would say about the police is they look worse in media than what they actually are.
Oh, 100%.
They look worse in media. They really were out there really collaborating with, like, that's the first time I ever saw it. Like, that never happened when at my age. Like, that was the first time, and I was like, wow, like, this could happen much more if there were more people like us, like Block Gives Back communities, citywide community counseling services, like Buddha. Did Buddha ever?
Yeah, Buddha was on here.
Power Circle, like people like them. If there were more of us, it could really go. So,
yeah, circling back to social media, what gets views, what gets clicks, and it's the bad police interactions. And you got to think, I mean, not for nothing. Yes, there's police brutality.
For sure.
Yes, there's an abuse of power. But at the end of the day, there are thousands, if not millions, of interactions that police are having with people who, and it doesn't get violent.
Definitely.
But the stuff that gets put on social media is the violent, however you can skew the view to look like, oh, it's a racist thing, or it's just a power thing. And then on top of that, police have a super difficult job. They're dealing with negative people all day.
Definitely.
So not that I want to give them an excuse, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with that. You're always going to be at a high anxiety level, and
back on the ropes the whole time. And I think when they get the positivity, it's almost like they don't even believe it. Like some of the cops, like when we talk to the cops, they're like, "You sure you want to work with us?" Like, yeah, we want to work with y'all. Like, what you mean? Are we sure? And
they got a bad rap. You know,
exactly.
it's hard to change that stereotype and that stigma.